نحمده ونصلي رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم صلي عليه. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. As we've been discussing, we've been going through the solutions to surviving the trials that we will be subjected to by the Dajjal. And the next solution to these trials is knowing the truth of this dunya, knowing the truth of this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that Al-Malu wal-Banuna Zina Tul Hayat Dunya. So Al-Malu wal-Banuna Zina Tul Hayat Dunya. That wealth and children are but adornment of the worldly life. Now what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying is, the ishara is that, look, these are just decoration pieces. Decoration pieces are, they're just adornments, and adornments by their very nature are temporal. They're for a certain occasion or a certain phase, a certain event. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that this dunya is just a phase. It's temporal. It's not going to last forever. So naturally, as human beings, we are engrossed in our work, we are engrossed in our social lives, we are engrossed in other aspects of worldly affairs. But naturally, the more engrossed you become, the more your mentality starts to incline towards these things. And it's almost like an addict. If you become dependent on the dunya, your body and your psychology starts to crave it. And this is something that the Dajjal will use to entice you with worldly affairs. So it's very important that we know the truth of this dunya. So what is the truth of this dunya? Well, everybody in the Western world and in secular society encourages you to live life to its full, live life to the max, because you only live once. But as Muslims, we know that we don't only live once and that we will be accountable because there is an afterlife. Now, some people do say, no, once you're dead, you're dead. That's it. You're just a corpse, and it's as simple as that. No du'as will benefit you. No Isal Swab will benefit you. You're dead, and that's it. And what they quote the verse in the Quran that says, Kullu nafsin zaiqatul maut, that every soul shall taste death. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has very beautifully engineered and constructed every single word and sentence and ayat in the Quran to ensure that we can derive the proper meaning for it. Now, if you look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, the word used to describe death is zaiqatul. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that every soul shall taste death. Now, in the same manner, when you have a chewing gum, or if you have a drink of Pepsi or any other flavored item, what happens is naturally that flavor goes. That taste after time disappears. So what this points towards is that time, if you're tasting something, that taste is actually temporal. It's not permanent. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Kullu nafsin zaiqatul maut, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying is every soul will taste death, or every soul shall taste death. But however, this death is just a phase to move on to the next life, into the next dunya, into the next stage. And like I've said before, ladies and gentlemen, that is when the actual games will begin. What we're doing at the moment is preparing for those. So the Dajjal will actually use our addiction to this dunya, and he will entice us with it, to entice us with money, with wealth, with good weather for our crops, and so on and so forth. But it is very important to remember the truth of this dunya, that this dunya is just an illusion, or it's just a training ground for us to prepare ourselves for when the real games begin, which is in the afterlife. Now, how we prepare ourselves is up to you. If we prepare ourselves for this dunya, we'll be naturally inclined for this dunya, and we will miss this dunya once in the afterlife. We will crave for this dunya, which will only cause us more pain and suffering. However, if we aim for the ultimate, for the pleasure of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then inshallah al-Aziz, we will find Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now, this is also linked to another theme as well, and that is remembering the hereafter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Kahf says, وَلَا كَبِيرَةً إِلَّا أَحْصَاهَا وَوَجَدُوا مَا عَمِلُوا حَدِيرًا وَلَا يَظْلِمُ رَبُّكَ, that they will find all that they did placed before them, and not one will thy Lord treat with injustice. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying is that He will hold every single person to account. Every soul shall have to, in front of Him in His court, be held accountable for every single thing that was done, whether that was a good deed or a bad deed, because ultimately that's what justice is about. It's not just looking about the good deeds, it's not just looking at the bad deeds, it's about weighing it up. Even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything, He knows absolutely everything, for the interest of justice and to show how just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, He will actually hold this court system where your good deeds and your bad deeds will be put in front of you, and they will be weighed. But Allah, there is a deeper meaning and deeper message within this verse, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is again giving us a warning to say to us, remember the hereafter, because if we conduct our lives by remembering the hereafter, we won't get sucked into this dunya. We will understand that this dunya is just temporal, and that we're actually preparing for something far greater. And when we're preparing for something that is far greater, we naturally don't care what people think. We won't care that, oh, will my colleague, will he make fun of me if I pray in the workplace, or will, what will people think if I'm wearing, if I've got a beard, or if I'm wearing my jubbah to prayers. It doesn't matter ultimately. I'm not saying you have to wear your jubbah to prayers, but the point is, you shouldn't be embarrassed of your deen, and you should remember that whatever you're doing is for the hereafter. This is just a game where you're training your mind, your body, your soul to be inclined towards either the hereafter or to be inclined towards this dunya. And like I said before, this is what the Dajjal will use. The Dajjal will use this very thing. And inshallah al-Aziz, when we know the truth of this dunya, and when we remember the hereafter, when we combine these two things together and we link them together, that's one of the key secrets, the key ingredients, one of the key tools to ensure that we avoid the fitna of the Dajjal. Inshallah al-Aziz, I'll see you again very shortly. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ.